You are now listening to Renewed Mind Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Cook Hall. Please begin to take that good deep breath as we begin to refresh, recharge, and reset. Let's go.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Faith vs. Fear, Breaking Family Ties, now available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com. You are now listening to Renewed Mind Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Kakal.
Welcome to Renewed Mind Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Kakal. As always, it is my honor and my pleasure to be able to share some tips and some tools with you that I know will assist you in becoming a better you. You guys, we are winding down the year 2021, and I, for one, am excited. I am, for one, grateful. I'm grateful for the lessons learned in 2021, the highs and the lows, okay? The battles that were fought, the battles that were won in my life. I'm so grateful that we are coming down towards the end of 2021, because when we start a new year, I am always clicking reset. I'm always setting goals before myself, to make sure that I'm keeping on a progressive path. And so I look forward to a new year, reset, refresh, restart. I'm thinking, as I was preparing for this podcast, what can I share with my listeners, whom I love and care about so very much? You guys are so very dear to my heart. I wish you knew how much, because I love what I do. I love the opportunity to share. I love the opportunity to empower. I love the opportunity to encourage, inspire. And so, and in some cases, also educate. So this is very honorable for me, and very precious and dear to my heart. So I take this very seriously, and I was thinking, you guys, when I think about the end of the year, I think about those who have lost people and those who are losing people. People are, leaving this side, and people are dealing with a lot of grief, like in the moment, currently in the moment, they're dealing with grief. And so I always try to think about, especially during this time of year, what can I give to you who might be experiencing such things, it's loneliness or sadness, or those quick moments of depression that come out of nowhere. I mean, it could be the smallest thing, but it comes in so quickly, and it tries to just take over your whole day, week, month, if you let it, right? And we know those who have experienced loss and pain and trauma, you understand those spurts of not energy, right, but spurts of depression, spurts of anxiety. You just out the blue, you could be fine, you could be happy, then all of a sudden, you feel like you're missing something. You're missing something. And you know what? It's amazing. Now that I'm talking about that, I'm going to get to what my subject is today. But thinking about that, let me share something really quick with you. When my oldest son, my first child, was born, when he was born, it was the most incredible moment of my life. I was so happy, you guys. I was so grateful to bring forth this life. I mean, he was so precious to me, just the biggest, the most awesome gift that God could have given me. I was just so grateful, so excited. And I remember every morning, and this went on for a long time. Every morning when I would wake up, it felt like Christmas. This is how I felt. This is how I felt about motherhood when I first had my first child. It felt like Christmas, because every morning I woke up and I was reminded that, oh my God, I have a baby. I have a baby. This little person sitting over here looking at me, so cute. And he's waiting for me, and he needs me, and he loves me, and I love him. And this was every morning. I was just, oh my God, something, so it was over my eyes. It was like, oh, something's different. Something's different. And it was that fact that I was a mother, and I had this beautiful baby boy that was waiting for me, and everything that I had to do for him, I did it. He was sick when I first got him. I had to go back and forth to the doctors and specialists, but I did it. I mean, you couldn't have stopped me. I had energy to do it. I was sleepy. I was tired, but I found the energy. I found the strength to do it. I had my own physical issues at that time, but it didn't stop me from doing what I had to do for him. And it was just a awesome experience every morning, just thinking of this present that I had. Well, it's the same in reverse for those who lose people who are very near and dear to them in their life. And so, for example, there were days that, I would wake up, after losing, loved ones that were extremely close to me and a part of my everyday life. It was mornings that I would wake up and just, oh my God, something is wrong. It was not a dream. This is real. I lost, this person. And then you would just get this overwhelming feeling of, sadness that would just come out of nowhere because it's a new day, right? You wake up, it's supposed to be a fresh start of a new day. But for a long time, my mornings were swamped with this reminder that there was this void in my life. And so people are dealing with that. Every day they are dealing with that. And I understand what that feels like. And I'm here to encourage you that there is hope. There is hope. There is hope to wake up and not have that pain hit you first thing in the morning. And I told you guys before, I don't believe in the cliche of time heals all wounds. I believe that um, we have to work very hard to cope with the wounds, to cope with healing these wounds. I don't think time because it was years, like I stated before, years, and I was still feeling the pain as if it had just happened. So it didn't go away with time. It didn't for me. This is just my own perspective. It didn't go away with time, but me being intentional and doing what I need to do to take certain steps to become healthier, is what helped me to begin to mend that and to get a different perspective. And that's why we teach a lot about perspective here on this podcast, because once again, as I shared before, I began to learn to focus more on the love, focus more on the opportunity that I had to have them in my life, to share that time, to be loved in such a way that it was pure love. It was real love. People have come on this earth and never felt the love that I've had, experience with people that I've lost. So it's just a different perspective that I took, and working through that helped me a lot. So for those who haven't gotten to that point yet, and you're still waking up with that overwhelming feeling every day, I mean every day, there is hope for you, and I'm praying for you, because there are still moments, trust me, that I could start talking, and I could, kind of get that feeling again, that gut feeling of, something's wrong, something has happened, something, is off, and it's the loss. It's the loss. So today, I want to give you something that is going to uplift and encourage and empower. And I'm going to start off telling you this story about my oldest sons, my oldest son and my younger son. And so when I had my oldest son, him and my middle child, my youngest son, is 4 years apart. And my oldest son personality is the total opposite of my younger son. So my oldest son is very reserved. He's very to himself. He, especially when he was younger, not the outgoing type. Very, reserved and not pushy, not loud. He's just like none of those things. And so he wasn't as bold either. He wasn't bold. But my younger son was the total opposite. He was, a little bolder, a little more outgoing, a little bit more vocal. And so it was the dynamic of the two was really quite interesting to watch. Two kids, same household, two so totally different personalities. So as a family, we are foodies. We love to go out to different restaurants. So we've been doing this for years since the kids was, born. We love restaurants. We love to eat. My kids are very familiar with trying different restaurants, trying different foods. Is what we do. And so, one of the places well, several places, but this one particular time, I'm gonna share more than one moment with you to prove my point. One particular time, there was this particular restaurant that we would go to all the time because they would have a guy who would come around, and to each table where there were children, because children, they had like a children night. He would come to every table, and he would do like little tricks for the children, and he would make different things out of balloons, hats and animals and all these little cute things with the children. And it was a very family oriented restaurant, and we loved it. So we did it, kind of a regular basis for our children, and we pretty much waited for the guy to make his rounds and to, give to our children. Um, and even in those moments, my oldest son was a little bit more reserved. He wasn't pushy. He didn't. If he got something, if he wanted something, he wouldn't say it. He would just let it. He would just not get it. He would just not say nothing. And we used to actually tease him about things like, we would tell him, closed mouth don't get fed. So if you don't open your mouth to say something, you won't. No one will know. You have to speak up for yourself. We would always teach him these things, but it just never clicked with him because it clashed with his personality. My middle son, he took bait to what we said and he ran with it. So whenever we were out, whatever we were doing, he was very vocal. My daughter who is younger than him is the same way. He was always very vocal. He was always letting us know when he was hungry, what he wanted, what he didn't like. He just took it and he ran. My youngest son was total opposite. Oldest son was total opposite. So the guy was coming around. He was making his rounds, but he took too long, and we had been there for a long time, so we was ready to leave. Um, and so as we prepared to leave, my younger son, kind of disappeared. Now I always keep a visual on my kids, so he just don't get to just do whatever he want to do. But I did see that he was getting up and he was moving. And as I watched him within my view, I saw him go up to the man. And I knew what he wanted. I knew that he wanted to get something for himself. I knew that. I knew that he wanted to make sure that he get his balloon and all the the things that he was used to getting when we went there. He was used to getting this. And he waited for this, and he knew that if we leave early, he wasn't going to get his. So I knew what he was doing. So I didn't say anything. But what I did not expect was not only did he get it for himself, but he got one for his brother, the older brother. And it blew my mind. It blew my mind. That was like the first time I had ever saw him do that. But this was not the last time that I saw him do this. He took it, he waited and he made sure that he got one for his older brother who was sitting there at the table, who had not moved, who was not going to say anything, even if he wanted it, even if he, really desired it, he was not going to say anything. But he did. His younger brother did, and he brought it to him. Now, another time that we saw this was at another restaurant. We were leaving out in this restaurant. Every child they would give a balloon to before they leave. When you leave at the restaurant, they have balloons waiting, and they're given to the kids and go on. So once again, my oldest son never goes up to the counter and says anything. He never goes up. He never asks for anything. Just that's just not his personality. But my younger son, before we was leaving out, he went up to the person, the employee, and he, made it be known that he wanted a balloon. And, there are moments that, as a parent, you question, should you say something to your child, pull them back, um, or do you not? And so after watching him, he was never rude, he was never disrespectful, he was never um, like entitled. He never came to anybody like he was entitled, but he was showing strength and he was showing confidence, and leadership. And that's what I was watching him do. So I allow him to do this whenever he did it, because he did it several times. But I never stopped him because he showed leadership. He showed confidence in himself and what he wanted. And so I watched him go up to the employee. I watched him ask for a balloon. But this time I heard him say, I need one for my brother. And he got one for his brother, which is the older brother. And so as I was thinking about these stories, of my kids, especially my boys, because I'm thinking about the dynamic of that relationship, and how most people would see that the older brother would be the one to do that for the younger brother. But in my case, it was the younger brother who knew the personality of his older brother. He knew his personality. He knew that he was reserved. He knew that he was no more quiet. And so he covered him. Come on, somebody. He covered him in that area. And he made sure that he didn't feel left out. He never came back. Hear me, people. He never came back with something just for himself. He could have done it. He could have went up to the magician and got his little thing, his little balloons, and he could have went back to the table and said, "Well, that's too bad. If you want something, mom and dad said a closed mouth don't get fed." He could have said that to him, but he didn't. He did not. He didn't say to him, at the desk with the employee, "Well, too bad. You should have said something." He didn't. He knew his personality. He knew his personality, and he did not want him to feel left out. He did not want him to have hurt. He did not want him to have pain. He did not want him to feel as if his personality was such a flaw that he should, you know, be left behind or go without. No, he felt like, "You're my brother. What I have, you have. What I get, you get." And so when I was thinking about that, I was thinking about my sister. My sister was the same way, in her own way. My sister knew that I was not necessarily the individual who was like extremely vocal and wasn't like a social butterfly. And I was very reserved. And so there was many times that my sister would tell me when I didn't want to go somewhere, or I didn't want to show up somewhere, or I didn't want to participate in something. She would say, "Come and be with me. Come sit down with me. Come sit next to me. Come, and take the ride with me. Come and we can talk and we can, chat. Just come be with me." And that was her way of protecting me, and that was her way of making sure that I didn't feel uh, neglected or left behind, or feel uncomfortable, because she knew that there was some form of security that I had as long as I was with her, right? And so, thinking about that, I was thinking, you know, each and every one of us at some point in our lives, and we don't always get this. We don't always get this. I had the opportunity of having someone like that in my life, and she did it with no judgment. My son, he did it with his brother with no judgment. We all need someone in our life who can read that in us, see that in us, and protect that in us and not judge us. Everybody needs someone. And you need to, I think what I'm trying to say is, before you close out this year, we need to look at the circle that you have. Look at your circle. Look at the people who you are involved in every day, or who you consider to be the go to people in your life, and see, you know, do you have one of those people? Do you have that brotherly love, that sisterly love that I explained to you, that I have exemplified to you? Do you get to experience that? Someone who can know your flaws and not share it, not judge you for it, not make you feel worse about it, not pull you down, uh, make themselves seem escalated higher above you because they're not experiencing those type of flaws and issues and voids in their life. I mean, do you have those type of people in your life, or do you have individuals who will support you, who's going to love on you, who's going to care about you, who's going to watch over you, who's going to know that this is your thing, this is your flaw, this is the issue that you're struggling with, these are the problems that you're having, but I'm going to love you, I'm going to cover you, I'm going to protect you, I'm going to make sure you're not missing, making sure that you're okay, making sure that you're not feeling that and you're going through that alone. making sure that you don't feel judged, making sure that I'm not going to say to you, you need to come out of that, you need to, cut that out. I mean, oh my goodness, but people who understand that this is something that you're going through, this is a part of your personality, I mean, whatever it is, but there's no judgment. They love you despite, they love you, despite of it. You have this going on, but they still love you, they still caring for you, they're still watching and having your back. So as we come towards the end of this year, I think it is absolutely imperative that you and I take a look at our circle and see who you have in your circle. Do you have someone who will judge you? There have been people in my life that, kind of thought we were close, but later on kind of realized that they were sitting in a seat of judgment, because when I showed the flaws, when I revealed myself, when I revealed some things that were hurting me or traumatic for me, you know, they it was a, oh, I thought you had it all figured out. I thought I didn't think you were going through anything. I thought, well, who's not going through anything? It's just not realistic. Like, who's not struggling in areas and dealing with, issues and problems and concerns and maybe some trauma or grief or whatever. I mean, who's not? Who's perfect? No one. No one. But I know what it feels like to, you know, be vulnerable in front of the wrong people, you know, be vulnerable in front of people who are not mature enough, who's not wise enough, and who really never had your best interest in mind in the first place. And so that's why it's important to know your circle. That's why it's important to, we all are going to come across people that will do that. And it's like, okay, lesson learned. Let's keep moving. Let's keep pushing. But sometimes it's hard to read. It's hard to see. The intentions look good. They come out, to you as if they are supportive and, they care and you are close and you're going to be fine. And then the moment of your vulnerability, because you could be there for them like all day, like taking calls and, showing support and listening to all of their, trauma and drama and issues and problems. But as soon as you have a moment of vulnerability, it's like, oh, really? I didn't know that I thought you had it all. I mean, and it's just like, wow. It's like, really, you know? And so that's why I know it's important to know your circle. It's important to know those who are there for the right reasons. Um, there are many times when I've faced that, many times. And that's because most of the time in relationships that I've been in, I'm the person who has to listen. Most of the time I am that person that listens and advises, but it's very challenging for me to find people that I can kind of like be open and vulnerable to, because I always get that, oh my goodness, Lord. And so when you find that relationship, when you have that relationship where you can just be yourself with no sense of judgment, you can be vulnerable. And that way, it is the best feeling in the world. And we all need that. We all need to encounter people where it's just not one sided, where they're giving you everything, but you can't reciprocate. You can't give anything. I know, and we're not talking about people who on a professional level. We're not talking about a professional level. We're talking about friendships. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about kinship. So we're talking about people who you should be able to be vulnerable in front of. But we know for a fact people uh, in your family you can't be vulnerable with, right? It's not just outside relationships, it's family. A lot of family you can't be vulnerable with, because it's, people would say the biggest judgment, the most they have ever been hurt is from family. So when you can find an individual or individuals that you can be transparent with and feel safe being transparent with, that is the best feeling in the world. And that is something that you should treasure. That's something that you should keep dear and near to your heart. Someone who you don't even have to say, like my son did not have to say, go get me a balloon. Make sure you bring me one back. Bring me some gifts back, just like you get yourself. He did not have to say that because his brother was already going to do it. He never even had to imply this is what he wanted. His brother was going to do it. We didn't know he was going to do it, but he was going to do it. Nobody knew that he had that in him, but he had it in him all along. Now, what is funny is I cannot say that if it was flipped, would my oldest son do the same for him? I couldn't tell you that he would. I could not tell you that he would. But I will say that, the older that they got, you can see the reciprocating that support and that love and everything. But when my younger son was much younger, that was his role. His role was, I am my brother's keeper from a young age up. I am my brother's keeper. And that's his personality, period. With all of his friends, and with his family, he is the brother's keeper. He is that person, and we all need somebody where you can be transparent, you can be vulnerable, you can have flaws, no sense of judgment, but let me take care of you. Let me be there for you. Let me cover you when you need to be covered. Let me, it's an awful thing to think that you can be out in the cold and your whole body exposed to the elements, and someone who you thought loved you can walk past you with a blanket and not cover you. Come on, somebody. But love is, not only am I going to cover you, but if I got to sit here with you, I will. If I got to help you move from this place, I will. And I'm not going to judge you. That's the secret. That's the secret, people. It's not judging. Not judging. There has been many times in relationships with people that I've had to establish that yes, I'm human. Yes, I have had, and that's, it's ridiculous that you have to do that because people think that you're strong, and you, because you're not boohooing and exposing all your business to everybody on social media, and because you hold your head up high and carry yourself with dignity and integrity, people just assume that you don't have problems. But we all have things that we go through. We all have things that we go through that we find to be challenging. You guys know I talked to you 1,000 times about life's moments, that just when you thought you were good, everything is okay, here come life's moments sneak up on you, and you're like, I saw you. And so we all have those moments in our lives that challenge us, that some are way more difficult than others. But we all need someone in our lives that are going to be there for us, that is going to support us, that is going to show us love and compassion. We need compassion and without the judgment. Compassion without the judgment. And I want to emphasize that so much because if we can do things without the judgment, it would be so much better. So, my advice, my tip, my tool for you today in my next segment, we will be preparing once again, as has been stated, for the wind up of 2021. But this segment, my tip and my tool for you is to review your circle, to see who you have in your circle, to focus on those individuals that you can be vulnerable with, that would, not judge you and not make you feel as if you are imposing, or that you are less of a person, or a faithless person, or a person with no strength. I mean, when you're going through life's moments, the last thing you need is individuals that will make you feel worse than what you're going through. Individuals who can't be empathetic, And I've come across a lot of those individuals in my lifetime who just really have a very difficult time being empathetic with people, which means they really cannot see, comprehend, or even put themselves in your shoes. Like they just can't see that. They just don't get it. And a lot of times they can come off very judgmental about that. And I personally have had to talk to people who are like that and say that it's not your place to do that, and that life will show you not to be so harsh and not to be judgmental, because it always comes back around to you. That's what you put out, what it comes back to you. So be very careful. So my assignment, which I never do, but my assignment to you guys would be that as we are approaching the end of this year, to begin to look at your circle and see, are they covering you? Are they loving you? Are they, having your best interest in mind? Do they want the best for you? Are they rooting for you? Or are you just surrounded by individuals who try to see what they can get from you? And that's a harsh reality to, comes to terms with the fact that you are surrounded by people who really just want to get something from you, not impart anything good. They can impart a bunch of drama, negativity, doom, gloom, and all that, but they're not imparting anything positive. They're not imparting anything good, anything productive into you. But they are definitely draining you, and they're definitely pulling you and pulling on you. I did a teaching before on the power of no, saying no. It is important, that we do learn to say no. I won't get into that because that's a whole another segment by itself. But that was something that I had to learn, to set those boundaries and learn how to say no. So do you have individuals that are pulling on you, tugging on you, drawing on you? Or do you have people who are looking forward, to the future with you, looking for you to be successful, encouraging you to be successful, and not lying about it? People say, "Oh, God, I want the best for you." They don't want nothing, nothing good to come to you, or nothing good to happen for you. So, do you have sincere people who, when you don't even know, they got your back? Now, let me close with this story. This is a good story, y'all. This story made me cry. And it's so simple. It's so simple, but it's an experience that I had to prove to you how awesome it feels to know when someone has your back or covering you, watching you, even when you're not even paying attention. So here's my story. I was at a restaurant. I told you I like to eat. So I'm at a restaurant, and I was leaving out, and there was a group of people coming in, but it was like mostly little kids, like a couple of ladies, and they just had a lot of little people, little children. I love the babies. They were all coming in. So I opened the door, and I held the door open. I was looking behind me. I was not looking behind me. I was just holding the door open, and as this long line of ladies and children were coming into the restaurant, I just patiently held it open, and I got the thank yous and all that, and people were appreciative. So just as I was letting go of the door because it was done, and I looked back behind me, there was a little boy patiently waiting for me to turn around and see that he had opened up the door for me to leave out. Hear me clearly. As I turned around slowly, there was a little boy by himself. He was with that crowd, but he didn't go through the door with them. He waited behind for me to walk through that door, as he held it open for me, as I was holding the door open for some other people that he had came with. And let me tell you something. It dawned on me so quick. I looked back at him and smiled, and he was just smiling. And it came to me, while you are helping someone else, come on, while you are focusing, I wasn't looking behind me, while you are focusing, trying to help somebody else, God said, I got somebody helping you. I got your back. I got your back. See, that's the kind of God that I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Those type of aha moments where you weren't thinking about anything, but he got somebody watching my back. And I cried over something so simple because it was just epiphany. It was an epiphany for me because I really wasn't paying attention. I was not looking behind me. I wasn't thinking about it. I literally was just trying to let all these people come in. I was not impatient. I was smiling and loving the babies that were walking in. They were so cute, and I just love babies. So I'm just looking at them and smiling, and and all this. And so just to see that happen was awesome, awesome. So as we prepare for 2022, I want you guys just to go back and just kind of reflect and review your encounters for 2021, the people that you've welcomed in that was probably new, or the people who've been there a long time and you consider them to be your quote unquote inner circle. Do they really have your back? And do they really support you? Because if not, I think for 2022 it is imperative that we be mindful of those that we keep company with, those who we divulge our information in our life with, those who we choose to share this life with. It's important who you are sharing your life with. So let's look at that as we get ready to approach 2022. That it's very, very important to have people who give positivity to you, who are sharing positivity with you, good energy, not negative. Because some people, just when they come around, you just get that negative energy that comes with them, and they always complaining, and they always got something bad to say, and something going on, some type of drama going on. Do you really want that for 2022? No. I mean, I didn't want it at all, so I know I don't want it for 2022. Let's start off fresh and new as we approach the year 2022. Hey, that rhyme, you guys. So listen, I'm getting ready to wind up and tie this all up. So grateful for this opportunity to share some tips and some tools with you on Renewed Mind Revolution podcast. It has been my honor. It has been my pleasure, as always, loving on you guys and praying for you always. Please remember to know that I love you, but most importantly, God loves you more. Thank you for listening to Renewed Mind Revolution podcast with your host, Michelle Kakal. God bless.